the nameless tune perspective. Hello. Hello. Okay.
So we've got a new superintendent.
We do. We
Oh.
will. We don't have him yet. He's not gonna start till July.
But thank God that's over.
Don't you think?
A process, and then
Oh,
everybody
absolutely.
who knows nothing about it and paid no attention decides
All of a
to
sudden
criticize.
decide.
I know, I love that, but I mean, I'm not surprised.
No.
Because that's the way
That's
people
what's
are.
happening to the big park behind our neighborhood.
Oh, yeah?
It's like, seriously, we've been talking about this for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And now when the town does the walkthrough with Remington, either tomorrow or Monday, everybody's giving an opinion on, but where were you a year and a half ago?
Well, there was one letter to the editor that was so funny. It said, I haven't been paying attention to the superintendent search except for what I read in the camera, and then gives this scathing opinion of how bad the process was.
So that's the agenda for the
I mean, I can't even say
leadership.
you knew this was going to happen.
Oh,
right?
no, I don't. And you know it in theory, you know,
In
but.
theory, but when you feel it,
It's,
you
yeah,
feel
I
it.
mean.
Is this somebody that,
I think it's.
Well, I don't know if you can,
I
can be.
just grabbed it.
I don't know, did I just take the
I don't
agenda?
need
I'm sorry.
electronic, I'll just get it on.
That
the-
wasn't, you know, that's probably Katie's.
There's a bunch of them.
okay.
So go ahead and take one now.
It'll help kind of help us figure
Can you just push me the agenda? Just one.
All right, so,
Those yours?
yeah.
Take off my leg short, do you think?
Yeah.
It's not called.
Part of it is an active
It is not.
application.
It's,
Okay,
lifetime.
That's owned by a different company, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
like-
brought
Has it
thank you
changed a lot?
notes
Yeah.
to,
Has
Do
it?
you think it has? Have you seen it?
I haven't been there.
Yeah, it's really different. It's very.
The gym.
You know, all I do is Former walk in the Lakeshore. door, go through the locker room, into the swimming pool, and out
Sounds
the.
fun.
Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
love that part of it.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen someone's like, oh, they have the most amazing spin bikes. I'm like, spin bikes.
There's a ton of equipment. Yeah, I mean, I've seen you there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'm living there.
Yeah, you live there.
We have a wedding in May.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it's a destination.
not yours.
Right? Yeah, and I know, and Mike and I are like walking across here for 2.5 weeks, and he's like, you know, you really need to, like, okay, I like a calendar with my Lakeshore stickers on it.
Yeah.
For your walking?
Yeah, and swimming.
Oh,
Excuse
swimming.
me. Yeah,
welcome back to the country.
all the stuff that I have to do.
Oh, hi.
So I think this is everybody. Melinda has her choir, her annual choir meeting, and Terry emailed that she can't make it, so this is it. Let's call the meeting to order. I did bring thank you notes for us to sign for Tim and Recite. Thought that might be a nice thing, so we can pass those around and do that. Public comment?
I have one.
Okay.
It'll probably be 2 minutes. The Board of Trustees was adamant in making the downtown development attractive. Every detail was considered to make the development look and feel successful. The Board of Trustees had the foresight to form this advisory committee to envision and create engaging arts, cultural experiences, inspired public spaces, and opportunities for community building, and to advise the Board of Trustees on such matters. We as a team have spent hundreds of hours working to make our town a stronger community with visual integrity. I am disheartened to see the current plan for a car dealership repair distribution business being considered for the entryway corner of Marshall and McCaslin. What happened to our gateway to Superior? Will the Board of Trustees address the architectural, unappealing aspect of this business's building? Our town appreciates the importance of community, activities, culture, and visual appeal of the buildings and businesses. Where does the current proposal fit with this community spirit? How will the car dealership current proposal for signage fit with that for the rest of the downtown Superior signage? The town has spent millions of dollars designing and building 2 beautiful parks and creating a Coal Creek walkway design. What will these parks be like next to a parking lot with 172 cars and over 1.5 acres of asphalt. And by the way, this asphalt has taken away a significant parking, 2/3 of that parking for our future events in our public gathering area. And where is the addition of public art to the project to enhance our public space for the entryway to downtown Superior? How does this current plan for the car dealership repair distribution center fit with the vision of Superior? And to review that, the CAPS committee under Section 2B, 3 and 4, to develop, energize, and activate public spaces that reflect the spirit, culture, and heritage of Superior, and to cultivate opportunities to gather and create community in Superior. These issues regarding the current car dealership proposal must be addressed during this ongoing zoning change process.
I think you need to identify your name.
Excuse me, Debbie Yates, 115 6th Avenue.
And before we go any further, can I get someone to do minutes for the meeting?
I didn't know they were doing that. How did I miss that?
That's why.
Well, and I,
Is that where?
it's right over on the corner, but I think
Not-
let's
not gonna
have,
detail, but
so we
I mean-
don't put Sandy in an awkward position,
Yes.
because it is in a certain stage of
Yes.
development. Let's have a discussion about it, because I do think that I want to talk about art in there, that if we have any opportunity to influence and have art put in there, we want to make a recommendation to the board.
The rules are, we have gotten an official development plan, so I can't participate in anything regarding it. And I would suggest you do the same thing in front of the town board. So any discussion
We will
as
do
well.
that.
Or I may invalidate my ability to vote, so.
Which we don't want to do.
So would you like me to rewrite this and post it, or?
However you want to handle it. But for it to be officially
Official?
received, it has to be made during the public hearing
At the Board of Trustees?
in front of the Board
Okay.
of Trustees.
Will do.
But let's, hopefully we'll have time and we can have some discussion about artwork, and the possibility of adding artwork to it. I mean, it's kind of late in the game, but we can always make a recommendation. Okay, so, any other public comment? Karen, are you taking notes? Is that what I'm seeing, or are you just, so just so you know, they don't have to be really in-depth. They're just so that we know if motions are passed and things like that, and you know, a rough outline of what we talk about per item.
Okay.
So you don't have to be scribbling the whole time.
Okay.
Because I want you to be able to, I know sometimes when I'm writing I can't pay attention, so they are being recorded.
Okay.
But we do put on the website formal notes. Okay, so roundabout art selection and next steps. And I thought maybe we could just go around the room and talk about our thoughts and feelings about how the roundabout art selection ended up. If you have suggestions for how to do it better in the future, which Kitty, you already came up with one, which I really think I'll let you elaborate on. And then Katie will give us just a brief recap of where things are and where they're going to. You wanna go ahead?
Sure.
Okay.
I really feel like it ended the way it should. I feel like it was important to have a piece that people were going to embrace in the town and love, and clearly, you know, that was a piece that spoke to, it was unanimous on the board, and when I showed it to my family, that's the one that they liked. So I think, you know, I know it wasn't the one that we chose, but I feel like the important thing was that it's something that the people in the town feel.
Hi, come on in.
Feel that it, you know, it's something that represents the spirit of the town. You know, I did have a couple reservations about the recite piece, and I think this one, you know, I like that it does kind of reflect that spirit of inclusion and community and diversity. And I think that it's going to look beautiful. I think my reservations, like we said, and the reason we didn't pick it really was a lot of it had to do with the size and not feeling that it was proportional to the space. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. moving forward, is figuring out how to make it look beautiful in that space.
Well, I'm one of those that voted for Recite, and so I was a little disappointed in the selection. And my son Adam was very interested as soon as I got home in what was selected, and I told him it was the figural sculptures. He says, "Oh no, the scary people." And I did share that before, that he thought that, you know, larger than life figures that were kind of torn apart was kind of a scary image for children. And so I asked my 2 neighbor children next door and had them look at the picture, and they also thought it was kind of scary, like dead people. But, so that was not my favorite piece at all. But this is a team effort, and we all concentrated very seriously and generously with each other and understanding with each other to choose Recite. And in the end, it is the Board of Trustees' decision. And so I think as a team, it's up for us to support the trustees in their decision. I mean, it was set up that way from the very beginning. So it's one of those times when you have to set your personal preferences aside and go forward as a team member. And that's what I'm prepared to do.
Well, my biggest problem with this whole process is all of the work we put into it and all of the thought we put into making a recommendation, and it appears the board did not pay any attention at all to what we thought. And so my suggestion going forward is that we not recommend, that we just give choices. Because it felt to me like a slap in the face that, you know, nobody, it wasn't that they didn't choose it, it was that if anybody considered it, they did not communicate to us that they did. If I had seen the one they chose before, because nobody saw it until we were all here together, I would not have voted that to be a finalist. 1, I think it's creepy, and 2, but I mean, creepy doesn't matter. I mean, if other people don't think it's creepy, that's fine. The size is wrong. So I would recommend that we no longer make recommendations, that we just give them choices.
Well, and I think that could be our recommendation, that choices is, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, but not
because
tell them what we
Because
think.
we narrow it to those 3, yeah.
I don't think they really care what we think, actually.
So, I mean, moving forward, how often do you think we're gonna be doing this same thing over and over again? Or do you think that this is gonna be continual?
I don't know
or
how
we
many
have the
other
opportunity?
pieces of art
Right.
the town might want.
Another thought too would be that, so that we aren't butting up against the board, so to speak, and I think, Claire, you said at the end of the meeting, their palette isn't necessarily maybe as sophisticated as ours, and so are we always gonna be faced with that? And so at some point in time, do we allow ourselves, you know, if it's under a certain dollar amount, can we then get to choose versus them having the final say?
Yeah, maybe we don't have to have the same procedure for every single
Mhm.
time an artwork is selected. If we end up with, you know, 100 works of art, that's gonna be really laborious to do this exact same thing every time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right,
You
right,
know?
so if it's something like an art, like the Lafayette, where all of the pieces are anywhere from $500 to $10,000, you know, are
Right.
those
Smaller pieces.
choices something that we get to make, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, discussions to have in the future, but I think that this process has really illustrated that there is, you know, some difference in making a recommendation and not having it.
Yeah, and I agree that the town board has every right to make the decision. That's absolutely the board's job and prerogative. So I'm not saying I don't think they should have made a decision. But
My 2 thoughts were that, and having all of us sat in with this meeting, we know that, first of all, the committee, and I sent an email to Clint to this effect, first of all, thanking him for whether he even agreed with it or not, but voting in terms of what we suggested as an advisory committee. I don't know where he stood on it, but at least if nothing else, that was, hey, I know you guys chose this, I am going to acknowledge that. So I sent him an email to that effect. The second thing is that we all know as a committee, first of all, how capable we are and how much work we put into this decision. And I felt that that was somewhat discredited when the Board of Trustees just said flat out, we're not anything, this all, and I find it very probably problematic that all 7 of them, and that could be the case, but we know from what our discussions are and how difficult it was to arrive at 3 choices, to have 7 Board of Trustee members all say, whoa, we all like this and we think it's amazing. I find that a little bit kind of hard to accept, but I do think for future processes that in order to not discredit what an advisory committee would do, that maybe, again, we just make recommendations to them and they choose 2 out of 3, or if it's smaller art, we choose and they just, they accept that this is our decision. But I do think as an advisory board, it is vitally important that the work and the decision that this committee came to is not discredited.
I would agree very much. I do want to acknowledge the fact that I think I agree with I think I agree with what everybody said. We are an advisory committee, and it's always hard when you feel passionately about something to see that others don't agree. I was very puzzled that we came to a unanimous decision as an advisory committee and really followed a very, very specific process, and that it appears that it was ignored. I do want to express that I had an opportunity personally to completely give my opinion to a board member. In other words, I had ample opportunity to say what I wanted to say, and I did. I do understand that, as you point out, it is the board's prerogative. Could we go forward and say if something is at below a certain budget? I don't know how these things work, but yeah, if we could have that prevail with our opinions there. As I said, I was stunned. That's just the honest truth. It's not that I was made aware that it was certainly, there were other opinions, but I do feel an advisory committee, I just am very disappointed that the process not just felt, but I think had a certain amount of dismissiveness to it for a committee to put almost a year's worth of work and carefully review. So I don't know whether there were reasons, or they don't have to give reasons as to why they made the choice they did. I too am extremely concerned about the size and the fact that I believe the board went off with was a sketch, which troubles me greatly. It is the decision, and I'm sure that the town, this is absolutely where it's headed, and I want to be as supportive as possible. I know I've been extremely vocal, much more vocal than I usually am in this process. It's my field, but I am really able to step aside and appreciate each of incredible ladies that I was able to be selected to work with in this thing kind of late in the process, and I look forward to moving on to make other good things happen. So that's it.
I was absent for many of the meetings, but I was keeping on top of the emails and all of the discussion. It was my understanding that the 3 items were selected and they were recommendations for the board, so in a sense they felt like they were your choices, right? So there's a little bit of a disconnect between recommendation and choice is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think that's what we're sort of feeling, that we brought forth the 3 and then said we wanted to make a recommendation, but we did know that they had every right to make a final choice.
Right.
So I think that's why we're trying to evaluate it and say, well, maybe a better option would be to give the 3, move it in the direction of 3, and those are our top choices, and then let the board have the final.
And that wasn't the way it was?
That wasn't the way, no, and that's why so the presentations happened, and then we all met and made a final recommendation before the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a lengthy discussion process. I mean, we did it on, the big dry erase board, and we had the 3 choices, and we talked about them all. Every one of us had pros and cons.
Okay.
We literally put all the pros and cons on a spreadsheet. Then we went through and gave a ranking priority to all 3 art pieces before we came up with that consensus recommendation. So it was not just this haphazard thing. It was
Okay.
truly a very detailed process of how we came about it, with a lot of discussion, pro and con, on the whole committee, so.
And 2 of the pieces nobody had seen until they presented to the town council.
We had not seen. They had not seen.
Right, they hadn't either. I
Right,
mean,
right.
yeah, the recite and the Dow, those 2, and the other one we'd seen, the Upham.
Right, we knew based on similar piece, so
Right.
we had a sense of what,
But,
I mean, we really
we didn't
had
know
no
the
idea.
size of it.
No, we had no idea what Dow
Yeah.
was gonna bring forth. Well, I would like to say thank you to everybody for all the time and energy everybody put in. I mean, it was truly an amazing process. And just, I don't know if everybody's on Facebook, but I will tell you that the town of Superior really loves that piece.
Well, good.
But they didn't see the others either.
That's
They did
true.
not, but you know what, I
But
think
that's
that's
okay.
okay, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I
Me
think
too.
that just seeing that piece and seeing the comments, I mean, Facebook is notoriously, people are mean and nasty, they don't care that their names and their pictures all of, and it was 95%, if not more, really, really positive comments. I love it. I mean, no joke. I mean, people were really seriously in love with it. So, I think we did a great job, and hopefully we all, at some point, can fall in love with it too.
Well, as long as we can see it.
I
I
think
think
it's
it's gonna blend in.
I do too.
Yeah.
Would anybody like me to comment from the perspective of
Sure.
the trustee? Let me see, I wasn't prepared to do this, but what I want to assure you is that nobody dismissed anything. This process, actually, from a board member who's been sitting on the board working with advisory committees for 8 years, worked, I think, it worked fabulously. When 3 proposals came before the board, it's really only the way it can be that the people up there react viscerally to what's being presented to them, right? So, given all the things in the back of a trustee's mind, they are responding. Even when you're not talking, you're responding to what you're hearing. It's when that proposal you mentioned comes forth. And we're constantly trying to put things in place and in perspective and whatnot. So it was a little funky that that happened, and we could have voted that night, right? And that's what would normally happen, is that when the 3 finalists come, we vote, right? And so we actually deferred to this committee, which had asked that we not vote, and that you go back, because you hadn't seen 2 of the 3 finalists yourselves, and that you make a recommendation. And that's the, if you will, sort of the odd step that usually doesn't occur. And it sets itself up then for this level of disappointment that you guys are feeling. But I think it's human nature for all of us to say, oh my gosh, I like this one, and the powers that be selected the other one. But don't let yourself get discouraged about the process of whittling down 120 to come up with 3 fine choices. And then you do have to step back at that point as an advisory committee and see what decisions made. That's just the nature of the beast. So I will tell you as a trustee that the fact that this committee recommended a piece that I didn't viscerally respond to, and I, for various reasons, didn't feel was the type of choice I wanted to see in the Gateway, which went to those issues, Claire, did you bring them up, inclusiveness and you know, unity, and this is the type of community you're entering here and now. I actually spent that whole dang day thinking very seriously about it, right? And looking at the one the committee chose, back and forth. I gave it a great deal of consideration, and I suspect every trustee up there did, because everybody understands how much work went into it. So I wouldn't equate the fact that the choice was different with a dismissive attitude or a, not being valued. It's your opinion not being valued at all. It's just what we have to do with every darn decision we make, is make one we think is best for the, best. And sometimes that means it's going to be different than the advisory committee. Sometimes it's going to be the same, et cetera. So I think it's a learning curve here. I think you raised some interesting points. Will the committee be able to just put projects together like, Lafayette did? I guess in my mind, I don't necessarily see the board getting involved in selecting, 20 pieces of work that are rotating. But this is major. Somebody has to have made this decision, and that town has to hold some entity responsible for it, that they, I guess, can vote in and out of office if they really hate it, right?
Well,
and that's us.
I can't imagine doing
right.
that.
No, but as Daryl says, my biggest fear waking up the next morning, and it was in the paper, and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh, this is probably going to be a very fun day. So when you forwarded those Facebook things, I'm like, wow, that's really unusual to actually.
No, it's very unusual,
Right.
and I think it's a true testament to the fact
Right.
that
Right.
it was the right choice. And
Well, yours might,
It might have
the
been the
committees
same.
might have
Yeah.
had the same thing, but the fact is, you got to acknowledge this one does, which is actually quite remarkable. So what I asked this group to honestly ask itself, as you heard me at the tail end of it, I'm concerned about size. I'm concerned about the attitude of the figures in there. I talked about, I like the attitude in the sketch a lot better than in the photo or whatever it was called, because I like the basking figure. I like, and I'm looking forward to this next steps thing here. So, obviously, the choice was something, it wasn't Tim's was pretty cut and dried, right? The board chose one that's still in process, right? And it needs guidance. So if it's not big enough, somebody's got to say, Dow, it needs to be bigger. And
How's he going to do that?
and-
on
I
the
mean,
same
how do we pay
budget?
for it?
Huh?
Yeah.
How do we pay
He
for
actually
it?
doesn't want to make it bigger.
How,
Right.
it doesn't have
Well,
the
but
money or
the
the technique.
decisions need to be made. For example, one rendition showed it on dirt, and one showed it on what I call sort of pedestals. I clearly support the pedestals because that raises it way up, right, by another 5 feet. So these are decisions that I believe either this committee should take on and work to see is successfully executed to the best of the committee's ability, or you've got to say, well, we're done, we don't have an appetite for this, and then we've got to ask staff to do it. But there are, the devil's always in the details. It's always in the details. It doesn't matter artwork, it doesn't matter town centers. Successful execution is always in the details. So, does this committee want to be involved in the details? And I guess, Katie, we should ask you, how do you see the next steps working? Because to me, this was a beautiful piece of art, but it's got to have the right attitude, and it's got to be on the pedestals, and it's got to occupy the space. And it's interesting that Dow thinks it does all that, I mean, he thinks it doesn't have to be bigger. But the fact is, if the committee feels, yes, it really doesn't, everything needs to be another 3 foot bigger, then you come back. If it's an issue of money, then we take a look at how we can extend that budget more successfully. And in his email, he said, well, if you guys acquire the boulders, if you guys do the berming, if you, whatever. And we are in a good spot to do all that, because we do this all the time anyway, and we probably can do it more cost effectively than an artist. And so I think the same board that approved this would also probably look pretty favorably on how do we extend the artist budget to produce the artwork, and where does the town contribute expertise in doing landscaping and berming and boulder selection and boulder purchasing with the approval of the artist probably. So anyway,
Yeah, I
I
was
think
gonna
that's
say, I can't imagine.
the discussion that has to happen here. But before we have that, maybe Katie, you can say how do we go from to actually having unveiling?
So I have talked with him extensively. He has watched the video to listen to board comments and has taken them all into consideration. I know he's working from your comments. I guess I assumed everyone wanted the pedestals, so that's what I told him. I mean, that's after listening
that
to
that was board.
the board consensus.
Yeah.
But does the committee agree with that?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think
Well,
as
it needs
opposed to
something.
boulders, boulders would
Those
not.
big granite
Boulders.
things, is that what
The
we're calling
pedestal,
it?
yeah, they were really,
Yeah,
they weren't,
it's not.
they
really
weren't raw
boulders.
granites.
It's
They-
granite pedestals.
Yeah, they're really not
the boulders.
boulders.
Seems to me they used
Well,
to
I
be
think
big. I mean, you know, they can't just be little, I mean, again,
Oh, yeah,
that's.
they in India.
Well, the drawing had them just as tall as the figures.
Well, 5 feet.
No,
5
no,
feet.
no.
I think he was thinking 4 to 5 feet.
Yeah, he
tall,
has
like,
specific.
organic kind of.
But they're shaped as well. I
But
don't
I-
think you're gonna find them in nature
Well,
as
I think
tall.
what he had talked about is that he would shape them.
Right.
But before he signs a
perfect.
contract, do we get a final concept, I think is.
Oh, yes, yes,
Okay,
he
all
knows
right,
that.
okay.
He
Yeah,
knows
this
that.
is absolutely dependent on, not a
Yes.
final concept, final drawing.
Well,
Every square
it's
inch
a
is
final
accounted for. That
dimension.
was Kendra from a legal perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, every
Yes.
square inch had to be counted for almost.
Fine.
Okay.
Yes, and Kendra's working on the contract.
Right, exactly.
We have looked at, Patrick and I have looked at it, you know, their contract that was with the RFP. So we've looked at it, looking at timelines, looking at all the pieces that go into it, and she has that right now. I have not seen the final.
So I have a question. Is he entering into a discussion that he is willing to make it bigger? I mean, has anybody know where he comes down on that? Is he satisfied?
No,
that as it-
he wrote a law, and I can forward it to you before the meeting. I asked him that question, and he doesn't really want to make it that much bigger at all.
I just worry it's gonna get so lost.
I know. I mean, and then, so if you said the town might be able to come up with more money, we would need to know how much.
But I think architecturally, it wouldn't
Matter.
Yeah, like it just structurally and engineering wise, it wouldn't work as a much.
Well,
Yeah,
Sandy made
too
some
much
comment
bigger.
about, because the whole idea of the sculpture is wind, basically.
Zephyr.
Yeah.
That's a light wind.
That's a light wind. I was
Yeah,
thinking
that's
about
right.
it. That's the
Yeah.
irony.
It should be
I
named
like that actually.
Hurricane. A Chinook. Here's another
But
thing.
you made some comment about
The
bringing
tails.
out the tails of the
Right.
cloth or
And,
whatever.
and he has listened thoroughly
Okay.
to
The tails of what?
the details.
Yeah, I
They're
hope he
they're
does.
They're
and-
pieces of them.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
The, yeah, so it
Piece of
doesn't look like the
cloth.
Walking
And
Dead.
the-
Yeah.
And also
I-
the.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is the one?
Yep.
But not
Explain
bad.
that
Do
to him.
do the sketch.
I don't have the sketch.
If you,
Switch.
are you an 80827?
No, I'm just on the daily camera.
That one is too rigid. The sketch,
They were more fluid.
well, and it's more triangulated from the base
Oh.
out, et cetera, et cetera.
And he did talk, and he's trying to figure out a way, because he physically can't make a maquette. I mean,
Mhm.
Another
it's
one,
just
yeah.
not.
Because of all the rings.
Because of all the rings. So he's
Mhm.
working through a process of, can he show you the rings? I told him about making them a little bit bigger for the light. So he's working on all those pieces to figure out how to show you the magnitude of it and how, you know, how it will actually look.
Right.
So-
There is absolutely more risk with this one than with Tim Upham, because Tim,
Yes.
it was there,
Yes.
right? But to me, that is part of the fun of this, but the process has to support that as well. So that's what I'm concerned about, is what is this final drive, right, to get this perfect? What does that look like? And what part is committee participation, what part is staff participation?
And does he
I
give
mean, that's-
final drawings, do you know, like, so that was one of the line items in Recite. So they would supply very specific, detailed drawings. Does he do that, or do you think?
Yes, that's what I
Sorry.
think he's working on,
Okay.
because of the ring structure. Like, that's the hard part of it. He is going to, I have given him drawings so that he can place the boulders, because of the main line too.
Mhm.
So that he can put them in a triangle shape, so that, because essentially what we had talked about is in the contract, the town will, you know, I don't know. Install the boulders, which actually can be done anytime. Once the contract is signed and once they're all picked out, they can essentially be installed.
But he's doing all the concept stuff and finalizing
Right now,
it
yes.
before a contract.
Yes, yes, yes,
All right.
yes. Oh,
so,
yes.
So I guess the question is then, as a committee, do we get to see that and make comments, or is that a board decision, or is that your decision? I
Well,
mean,
it's not my decision.
Well,
Kay's like,
No,
no.
no. I'm just working with him to get this process
to get
started.
to that part.
Yes,
and,
to get to
and
that
so
part.
Then
Now,
would-
it is slated to go to the board on April 9th.
his final.
His final concept with the contract.
With a contract.
Yes.
Is that concept or whatever, is that I guess, is that to scale, everything is adequate that he presents, that is really to scale, everything is done at that moment?
Yes.
So it would appear to me that all we obviously are going to be able to do is make a recommendation, and we will not be, I mean, it's clear that the board is going to make that process, and they will be informed as to the size. I mean, all of the issues that we are presenting about concern of size, where do those come down? You don't have to answer it, I just am asking it in a question. Where does it matter that we see it as not being adequately sized to fit the space? I mean, I guess.
Apparently not.
Apparently,
Yeah,
that
I
will
mean,
be
the
a-
board chose what they chose, and
So
they
I
knew what
guess-
size it was.
So it
So-
would follow that they're
no,
gonna
Kitty,
make a decision.
I totally disagree with that. The biggest attribute I think we all have to have here is not to take things personally. The board heard the size.
Yeah, that's
When
what
I
I
was
said.
when I was recapping for the board that night, I raised the size issue. And that's why Katie has discussed size with them. Now, the artist has the ability to reject that. The artist has the ability to say, well, I disagree with you committee and you board. I think the size is good. So he's got to prove that, right? So when he comes back on April 9th, and I think Daryl's absolutely right, or Jane, that everything's got to be to scale. And, you know, that's apt. And if you guys still think, and the board still think, the size just isn't there, then I'm certainly not going to vote for a contract until I'm comfortable that this is the right size. Because trust me, I'm not
Well,
gonna-
it sounds
yeah.
like size is not, changing the figures is not an option.
Well, yeah,
Right?
he's
Are you
looking
wanting
at.
them size diameter wise or
I-
size
Well,
height wise?
height, that's out. Width, if they're more arched,
Everything's out.
well,
I'm not counting anything out. The fact is, if he listened to and watched it again, I don't think anything's out. I think I think if Katie is satisfied that all of the observations have been, what I would ask you guys is to now take a deep breath and say, the one we like's not the winner. How do we make this successful, right? And for you guys to participate in the process of what it's going to take to make this successful. I think you are. But that's what I want. I think the fine tuning that has to happen here is you guys want to be absolutely proud what goes in there. I don't think you want to say, well, I'm sort of glad because I didn't like it in the first place, right? I'm hoping you're able to group and say, now let's focus on this one and make it absolutely spectacular. That's what I'm hoping, right? And I think it's fair for you to say, well, I'm sorry, I can't do that. You know, that's not my personality, it's not my inclination or whatever. But those of you who want to do that, I think, need to have a spot to do absolutely that. So that's what I'm asking.
Well, I think that we have a desire to. We just, I mean, between now and April 9th, there isn't a lot of time, and we don't have enough
April
meetings.
and April 9th may be too tight. The fact is, that's the next board meeting. We're not having a meeting in Monday. So, because of spring break, that was decided late last year would take this one off. And April 9th may be too fast. But it seems to me that if you guys, if it's your inclination to want to have a say, then maybe you would have to do a meeting, a special meeting, publicly announced, prior to April 9th, to see it, see the proposal he puts forth, and to weigh in on it, saying it's still too small, it's, the rings still aren't big enough, or whatever your observations are, and then to articulate that to the board that night. Because we don't have to vote April 9th if it's still not right.
Is he doing work without a contract? So I mean, he's...
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he's working on final sketch, like
Final.
he's working on.
He's
yes.
doing the final stuff.
Yeah, he's not doing
Okay.
anything else.
Does the April 9th timeline, is that too tight for you in terms of... I mean, is he saying that he can actually accommodate that timeline? Does he know that date?
Yeah, he knows the April 9th timeline. I mean, technically, everything's supposed to be to the board next Tuesday.
Right, ahead of time, right.
On the
Exactly.
27th. I mean, board
For the
packets
meeting
due.
packet.
So.
But is he prepared for that? Next Tuesday is
It's
a few days.
It's fast.
And if he's not prepared for that, then I think you need to talk to Matt, and that needs to just be moved 2 weeks later. Because at this
I
point,
can talk to.
yeah, at this point, it's not about speed, it's about a stunning execution.
Mhm.
In the spirit of moving on, let's, let me just say, so one thing I do like about this piece is that it's ahistorical, it's not historical. To me, it's kind of about the place, and even though it has figures, it's not necessarily about the people, it's about a harmony of the people and the place. And for that reason, I'm envisioning a significant kind of landscaping buildup, you know, like with the boulders and some like native plants and things like that in the buildup.
And I have talked to him about plants he'd like to see, some options, and then we are working with a landscape architect to get some
Okay.
landscape ideas down.
Okay.
So
Good.
But that's a very similar plan.
Okay.
Well, because ideally you want to, whatever is there, you want to sort of put your eye up anyway. 'Cause
Yes.
as you're driving around, your eye's going to be at boulder height
Mhm.
essentially. So
Right.
everything needs to
And
kind of.
Speaking of that, that now puts it into sharp focus about the quality of the boulders, which, you know, we have a lot of, red sandstone boulders over there, but I just don't think they would be good. And they would bear no resemblance to what he drew either. So my question to you is he planning on showing something of what he has in mind for a surface of the boulders?
Oh, yes,
Good.
I
Okay.
don't, yes.
Good.
Yeah, and we had talked to him about, we have contractors that we have used, are you willing to, talk with them? And yes, I mean, he's actually very easy to work with. Like,
I'm
he's
glad Claire
been-
brought up the landscaping, because
Yes.
I didn't think I could make it any clearer.
Yeah.
My opinion is that this synergy between the landscape, the boulders,
That it's all kind
is
of.
absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Well, and he had even mentioned to me maybe doing some smaller boulders in there as well to, so it's not these big boulders and then nothing, but some small, and actually to stop cars
Right.
as well.
Some boulders as bollards.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, you're
You know,
gonna have
the
those round,
bollards,
ugly
yeah.
concrete
No,
bollards.
was
Yeah.
it Rita or was it you or somebody else who talked about how many signs there are?
Rita.
Yeah.
Because that,
I've
I
been
was,
noticing that.
I've been noticing it too since then, and
Yeah.
that's gonna detract.
They're very
I think it says
European
sports
too.
table
in
about
all
5
of them.
times.
Yeah.
It may not,
Stabilize.
guys, just imagine, I agree. I'm like, sign after sign, but imagine we successfully pull your eye up. Eventually, the traffic signs disappear to the eye. It happens to me all the time, where I'm fixating on, I'm gonna share something, and you'll never look at it the same.
Are you gonna ruin something for us?
Yeah, I'm gonna ruin it. Look at the lay of the concrete on the surface and how raggedy and whatnot how it was poured and how it was, what's the word? Smoothed or whatever.
Is that why they were out
Yeah,
there today
you mentioned
fixing
that
it?
before.
And I think it's just wretched. And so
The
that-
street concrete or the,
And I'm like, who the heck did that? If they did that on my driveway, I would really have an issue with it. So my husband, he's like, who pays attention to that? Right? Well, I pay attention to it because I wanted it a certain way and it didn't turn out a certain way. So now when you go around it, pay attention to it and you won't ever look at it
well,
the
you've mentioned
same
that
way.
before, but I've never noticed it.
Yeah, it
So
just
busy
depends
trying
on.
to get around
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
slamming
It's
it.
what-
Too busy looking at
yeah,
signs.
It's what, you know, what floats your boat, but anyway, so we don't have to, but between Katie and Daryl as chair, I think you guys have to be in sync about these next steps and what it takes to produce a fabulous final product.
Can we, I'm still really concerned about, I know his idea of lighting is ground up. Is that gonna be part of the, final contractual thing, is exactly how, again, has he mentioned how he's going to address lighting
So in the contract, it is actually on the town to do the lighting.
on the town?
That is the way it is written in the contract. I think
And then-
from the artist's
Oh,
he
recommendation.
recommendation.
So he's gonna say, here's where it should be
Yes.
and here's how it should point.
Yes.
He's
Okay.
gonna address lighting, but we're going
Yes.
to do the lighting.
We will
So-
do the lighting,
Okay.
yes.
And then, so he will make recommendations based on how important lighting will be at nighttime.
Yes.
Obviously.
So if the town, because if Dow felt that he didn't want it bigger, but if there are some things that were suggested at the Board of Trustees, for instance, more arch to the figures, which is a change from the computer generation, and the trails on the clothes, if he's not gonna charge us more for that, basically, then he's saying, you do the boulders, you do the landscaping, you do the lighting. He
Well,
will.
the boulders are in, so the way the contract is written, and again, this can always be changed, the way the contract is written is, he pays for the boulders, we install them.
Does he,
So-
that means he selects them
Yes.
and creates their,
Based on our,
Yeah.
like,
So
we're not
that's
just gonna let
included in
him.
the cost, is buying them and him
Okay, and he,
designing them.
and he
or
will
whatever.
cut them if we go with like a granite pedestal kind of thing, rather than a boulder, he will cut them?
Yeah, but if you're asking for granite, like,
They have to be level on the top for
Yes.
the
Yes,
Yeah.
and he'll, and
So
he
there
will
has to be
cut them.
cutting.
Okay.
Yes, he will, he has.
Yeah, there
been
has to be
that.
some faceting
Oh, yes,
because the
yes.
way, I
Wait,
mean.
so
they-
he's gonna cut,
Yeah, he
he's
will
gonna
take
cut
his
'em.
jackhammer or whatever he said, he told me when he's, you know, he'll
Okay.
have to level it for the people
Mhm.
to stand on them, they're not gonna be jagged, and yes, he will shape them to.
okay.
Something that came up is the uniqueness of this piece to Town of Superior. And I would suggest that language addressing, because we've now seen the face 3 times,
Mhm.
right? And I don't sense we want to see this particular piece in other communities.
Believe that is in there.
Okay.
I'll double
That's
check,
good.
but I believe it is in the contract.
That's a good
That is
point.
kind of our piece type
Right,
thing,
this
so,
is unique to the Town of
Yeah.
Superior and cannot be duplicated
yeah.
North Carolina.
Cannot be duplicated in.
The
you know.
United States.
No, I
Oh.
meant in whole or in part is
Oh.
what it
Oh,
would
okay.
usually say, but in fact, it cannot be essentially duplicated, you know, something. I'm sure he'll use the rings and he'll probably use figures
Yes,
elsewhere.
There's
but-
usually,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah, there's this-
percentage of, you know, at least in the graphic design world, it's a 40% change. So that therefore, you know, like if I designed a logo and these people wanted that logo, I'd have to change it 40% in order to not be violating their rights.
And I do believe.
And there's
Yes,
something
but I
like that
can-
in
I
there.
can reiterate, and actually, with Kendra's working on it, she's actually doing one for, I think, Silverthorne right now too, in our contract too.
So that we can move on, do you want to just let us know if he thinks you can get it before
Yeah.
for the meeting so that we can at least have some eyes on it? Okay, thanks. Okay, on to crosswalk. Anyone else have anything to say about, crosswalk painting project? So this was part of our work plan. It was also put in front of the board, and they approved us moving ahead with temporarily, or not temporarily, but putting crosswalk designs in 3 locations. Although one of the locations they didn't love, so we might have to rework that. They didn't love the south pool. They felt like if it
Wait,
wasn't.
who's they?
The board.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Or during the dinner?
No, it was a presentation in front of
Oh,
you
okay,
guys.
okay.
There was a whole PowerPoint presentation and locations, and the North Pool and that area, North Pool and Indiana was one location, South Pool was the other location, and 76th and outside of Sagamore, Sycamore Street, I guess, was the other location. But what we need to do now is figure out who wants to continue working on that and how we come about with a design. One of the things that we presented is that we were going to keep, so we weren't disrupting or having to pull up what's already been painted out there. So there's the big
Yeah.
white stripes, and we would have design go in between those white stripes.
Or incorporate.
Or
them some-
incorporate
yeah.
with the stripes, exactly, but that way we aren't
Yeah.
having to, it won't cost more and it won't undo work that was, they had just, in most cases, redone all the crosswalks all around town.
So other than designing it, then what else needs to be done? I mean, getting the materials.
Getting the
in.
templates built for the, whatever design is chosen,
Mhm.
and then picking days and working with Public Works to figure out how to close the streets down and actually paint without getting run over.
Because otherwise then there's a silhouette right there in the middle of
Exactly,
it.
and that is, you know, that was not part of the design, so.
Like in the
Be
cartoons.
very funny.
We could
No, I would be
those
willing to-
That could be one design.
That would-
Yeah, somebody who's
You know,
been
the
hit
old
by a
people?
car.
Yeah.
Or the dead body
People
out.
might not like that.
No. Well, I would like to work on that. I cannot do anything about designing anything, because nothing I could design would anybody want. I can almost draw a stick figure.
So we're designing and painting it ourselves, the crosswalk thing?
I think we have enough talent here that we can figure it out.
I can
and-
color between the lines.
I'd be happy to help with that. I've done murals and
Are you back in town now?
I'm back in town.
Good, welcome.
All of our attempts to move out of town failed, so we decided
So
we're
you're back.
staying. So now it's
Ah,
official.
so
I'm
we
back.
get to
Yeah, we
benefit
ran into
from
each other
that.
at the gym and.
Oh, good.
So I thought, I missed you guys, but it sounds like a lot's happened. You guys have done a lot of work in the time.
It's a full-fledged committee now.
I know, it's exciting.
Not just a theoretical committee.
Yeah. And it sounds like you all did a lot of work. Yes, I'd like to come back and, yeah, we're not going anywhere anymore.
Okay.
We decided, you know what? The universe is telling us something.
So is anyone interested in helping design? I know you expressed it at one point.
Well, I would just go by some of the wonderful examples that you have sent out, because you found some wonderful,
There are some
designs.
fun, I mean, maybe that's it, we just sit down and look at things that are interesting and come
Yeah.
up with, I mean, my thought is it needs to be relatively simple because we are painting them and we
Yeah.
need to be able to make a template. I did, the last meeting, I don't know if I have it, I also thought it might be fun just for other crosswalk areas. Did you guys see the one that was look with the 2 eyes?
Yeah.
So we could make just a simple template of that and also incorporate that in other crosswalks
Those would be
around. Because it's just fun.
Yeah.
I was in Denver the other day and saw a bunch of those utility boxes that are painted.
Oh, I
That's
know.
a-
Are you having
so
Loveland?
cool, aren't
Yeah.
they? Yeah.
Master plan.
So, yes, it just reminded me again that we talked about that.
Do you mind forwarding me the stuff that you shared with the rest of the group for the
No,
classworks?
not
or-
at all. It's,
Oh.
I have well, the committee has a CAPS board.
Oh,
And so
nice.
if you're on Pinterest,
I am
we
on
just
Pinterest.
kind of, everybody that's on Pinterest can throw stuff in there. But
So I'll look
it's
you
easy
guys
to, oh,
up.
sorry. And I think we were talking about trying to get this moving and possibly painting in April or May, so.
Gosh, it's here, isn't it?
It is.
It's
I know.
almost April.
Ugh.
Yeah, it is. I'm traveling half of April.
Do you, Sandy, think that, I mean, we did go in front of the board, it's part of our work plan, do we have to get the designs approved by the board?
I just think it is wise
Okay.
to at least present them and allow the board to say, ooh, maybe that one is a little, whatever. I just think it's wise, because
Okay.
you don't want to get something in that is in.
Well, and also to remind you guys of the project and the locations,
Right.
and like I said, the
So-
South Pool wasn't a favored location. I thought that Sandy Hammerly might have had a second location. It's on the other side of the school, I'm sorry, I don't know south of Colton very well, but, if you leave El Dorado K-8 and go up the hill, there's that intersection,
Well,
right?
Mount Sopris and
Yeah.
El Dorado,
Yeah.
Indiana.
Yeah, well, that's right in front of the school.
No, so we were thinking that we would leave the schools open so that once
the
we did the
school project,
projects, then
yeah.
it could be a school project if the schools were interested.
I would suggest, Katie,
It's
that you
the
on
next
the
one.
presentations section of an upcoming agenda,
Okay.
and that you just do it in the presentation to remind us and to.
So I'm trying to picture what streets, so south of of El Dorado.
Yeah, so.
The Torrey's Peak?
Oh,
up
but
there?
it probably is Torrey's Peak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Because then you can keep going up to.
To 121.
Yeah.
Torrey's Peak in Indiana, or?
Yeah, because Indiana wraps all the way around, right? It kind of does a loop back.
And Torrey's Peak goes
There's
everywhere.
the map right here.
There's 2 intersections, one near my house and then
Well,
one,
we're talking about the southern one.
up at the top.
Yeah.
Up at the top, yeah.
Near where that sculpture is.
Yeah,
Is it
yes,
bronze?
exactly.
Okay.
And I don't know that that's the exact location, but I think that was the other thought about location. And the reason we chose those locations is it interspersed them through different parts of town, so that
That's a good idea.
we were trying to spread the love. Okay, so maybe we could just have a little side meeting and look at some designs and figure that out, and then bring it in front of the
Yeah,
board.
there are some things maybe to consider. Is it the same design, but different paint colors in the 3 locations? Is it 3 different designs? You know, and the sky's the limit. I mean, really.
Right.
You know. I'm just thinking.
I was thinking we were gonna do different ones, that each one would be unique. But I don't know, I mean, we didn't decide that, that's just what was in my head.
Yeah, I think, when you guys mentioned it, I was thinking they each be different.
But that involves cutting drawing the
Different.
templates, cutting the templates, et cetera. And hopefully, when you really are the thick into this project, hopefully there'll be like 20 crosswalks or 30 crosswalks that are all painted
Oh, so you
eventually.
definitely want a template if
Yeah,
you're thinking
yeah.
that you might
That
want
kind of thing.
Maybe same template but different colors?
Well, exactly, I think once we look at design, it might start to flesh itself out a little bit more in that way.
I'm just thinking that, and this is only creative brainstorm, it's not meant to influence your decision, but when you said the eyes, you could do blue eyes, sky blue eyes somewhere, and orange
Bloodshot eyes.
and
Is there a bar
lime-
we could put the
lime
bloodshot
green
eyes
eyes,
in
so
front of?
it becomes a wayfinding thing. It's where the blue eyes are, it's
Where
where the
the-
green eyes are, it's where the red
And
eyes
I think we're
are.
only limited by street paint, so they're not, I mean, you can paint anything on the street, but it wears off much
Right, right,
faster.
right.
So I would say if we want to be successful, that we're better off using some of the, and I think there's like there's the primary colors and then just a couple other ones.
So where does one get street paint?
You can get it on the internet, it's pretty easy.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I can check with Alex too, he might be able to get a deal.
Exactly, yeah.
Gives you guys kind of pick
And,
colors.
yeah, could I just add something?
Yes.
I do think that because Rock Creek is so similarly looking in so many neighborhoods, I think it would be appropriate to have a different design, because if we don't know the neighborhood names, I mean, I don't, but you could say, oh, well, I live in the neighborhood with the cat, and I live in the neighborhood, you know, with the owl eyes, and I live in the neighborhood, you know, with the bear.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's nice to distinguish by, and each one feels unique
Yeah.
and special.
Yeah, I think
You're right.
that.
I think they're gonna very effectively be wayfinding and identification.
Yeah, that's why I think it'd
And, you
be
know,
not complicated,
yeah,
but
yeah.
different.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. All right, anyone else volunteering, and then we
Oh,
can.
I'll help, I mean, I'm assuming we're all helping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we all will be given a paintbrush or
Yeah.
whatever you do it with.
So what if I send out a couple of design ideas, and you guys can then elaborate and say, and, you know, they're just concept ideas, and go, okay, I like this, but what if we did this? And then that way it just gets the conversation started. Or I don't like this. I mean, that's always part of the conversation too.
How do those templates get created? I mean, what's that?
Well, I've been trying, there's all kinds of things online. You know, it could just be that, have you guys seen that corrugated plastic, and that we get it cut, laser
Okay.
cut out? Because then we can reuse it. So it doesn't, I mean, again, depending on the design, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we want it to, you know, be enough of a template that you can get the form and it doesn't leak over.
And wouldn't a sign
Oh.
maker be able to do laser cut?
Yeah, you could do that. You could also possibly, I was also thinking, you know, the vinyl, like banners. So you take a vinyl banner and you cut the,
Oh, yeah,
things
like you
out
get
of
it
it.
fast signs or something,
Mhm.
yeah.
So you want this to be a stencil then?
yeah, it works as a stencil.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
Edged with
challenge,
frog
yeah.
frog painting tape.
Well,
Yeah,
have you
you're
ever
gonna have
watched
to-
them paint the stripes and stuff? I mean, they
Yeah,
does-
it's a template, yeah. It's just nobody, there's nothing that I've found that you can walk into someplace and you can go and buy like the wheelchair thing that you see out in the parking lots. You can buy a lot of those pretty easily, but the
I don't
custom
think we want
creative
that.
ones, not so much. I haven't spent a lot of time looking, but there are definitely, there's a tactical urban placemaking booklet that I found, and I haven't had a chance to read it, but they have suggestions in there of different things to do, and one of them is crosswalks, and I'm like, okay, so do they have specifics? So I just have to figure that
Sure,
out.
somebody has best
Yeah.
practices, somebody has,
Absolutely.
oh, this was a big mistake, don't do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's also
Don't
those
make your
fails.
templates out of X.
Yeah.
And there's a
Don't
lot
make
of
'em out of
freeform
cardboard.
too,
Yeah.
as well. There's a lot of towns that just do, somebody
Freehand.
goes out and draws
Oh,
it
dear.
in there, and then the people paint it, which I don't think is what we want to do this round. I think we want to be as simple and easy as possible.
Depends on how good a drawer the person is, but no, templates I think would work.
Do you spray it? Is that how they do it?
You can
have-
spray it, you can roll it, you can hand paint it. Yeah.
Seems like spraying it would probably be the most.
Depends
I
on
don't know,
the,
how
it
do you-
depends on the paint you get and
Okay.
how, yeah. I suspect spray paint is probably more expensive, I think, if I remember. Like, you can buy like a 5-gallon bucket of paint
Okay.
for like $90. So,
They showed in one of the videos on Pinterest, painting with those 6-inch paintbrushes.
And please keep in mind.
we'll get you a 3-inch.
Yeah. Like this.
Please keep in mind maintenance,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will the, at what point do you want these touched up,
Which is also why I
And
think
kept
we want to
looking
use
fresh.
road grade
Yeah.
paint, because it
Yeah.
lasts the longest, it
Yeah,
will
there's
look
no
the
point
best
in
the
putting the
longest.
effort into it and using something that's not gonna last.
Right, or having people upset because it
Yeah.
fades so quickly and is gone.
drives me nuts when
And
we just
simple will
paint
make it
stripes
easier to
Mhm.
maintain.
and they allow
Mhm.
cars while it's wet. You're like,
And you see the tire print off to
I know,
the
that drives
side.
me crazy.
know.
I'd hate to be the painter, it would just.
well, you are the payor of this, it's taxpayer money. That's
Oh.
just like, know you said painter, but it doesn't seem wise. Okay.
Okay, all right, so, any other thoughts on crosswalk painting? If you have ideas,
I think it's gonna be fun.
for sure. Okay, on to 5, discussion, identify project assignments for work plan items. So these are the 4 main ones that are in our work plan, the crosswalk project, which we just discussed. The main event planning, which is,
June 9th.
it is June 9th, and it is, Debbie from Cone Marketing has been working on formulating the people and getting the interest and figuring some components out. And I have spoken to her as well as Katie, and we're on the hook for doing the art project. So we need to figure out what it is and where it is and what we want to do. I mean, we looked at Katie's,
I'm actually talking with her next week
oh, good.
for baby.
So you could get
So-
some details on
Yeah,
that
just so I
for
can
us.
get you guys some details, and I don't know if you wanna, sure you could Google search a couple different ideas. The Des Moines Art Festival does it, but I think theirs is pretty intense.
Intense
I'd be happy to
being-
work on that. I've done that several times over in like teaching painting 101.
Mhm.
With dividing up an image that's appropriate and giving them one piece to each person and
Yeah, that is so-
defining the
so
outlines
cool.
and then coming together in the end. I've done that several times in painting 101. So I'd
Do
be
we know
happy to
where it
work
would
on
go?
that.
Yeah,
We don't, so we need to identify a location, although the folks at the sports table were like, they were like, oh, paint the whole backside.
Yeah.
Which I don't think
No
we
one
can
sees
just
it.
do. Huh?
When
No
are,
one will see it.
when are they doing?
What?
Main event.
The main event.
Oh, main
So the main event is, Karen, the party essentially, the park. So we're taking the parties in the park and it's becoming the main event and
On Main
cooperation.
Street at downtown Superior.
Oh,
That's
and
why-
that
Main
takes
event
the-
at
That's why
downtown
it's called the
Superior.
main
Okay, right.
event.
And that takes the place of 3 to 4 style markets in
Well,
downtown.
It takes the place of those parties
Parties
in
at
the
the
park.
park.
Mhm.
But then weren't we doing it another time too?
Well-
August 9th?
We didn't formally say that,
Okay.
and again, we don't have, I mean, we have to figure out what it's gonna cost, and then we would have to go in
Okay,
front
we
of the
don't know that
board.
yet.
And, yeah, I mean, we have our budget of $5,000, 1,300 of it, or maybe a little bit more, has been spent, because we're spending it on our, leadership summit, which is money well spent, in my opinion.
So to recap, on June 9th, Cone Marketing, is it KON?
COHN.
Okay, COHN. And they are through Ranch Capital.
Yeah,
Right.
they are Ranch Cap.
So the idea is that on June 9th, we're having the main event at downtown Superior, kind of the kickoff for the downtown. Do we know, or does it matter? We're just doing the art project. We don't have to worry about anything. We don't have to worry about funding food trucks, you know, because we talked about farmers markets. We don't have to worry about funding anything. Is that the bottom line?
The plan is for them to pay for it.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but I haven't heard
I've
anything
explained
about
that to
that.
Debbie, like, this is.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
that's
getting,
what I
because we,
thought.
last month we had that
They're gonna pay for it,
discussion.
yeah.
How much would, you know, are they gonna pay for the whole thing, part of it? None of it?
I think she has to go to Bill and then
Okay.
Bill
We
talk
have
his
to figure out
investors
what
and-
it actually looks like, and
Yeah.
I think part of it is talking to the home builders. So it's not, never is anything as simple as you expect. So Cone Marketing does the marketing for downtown Superior. That means that all of the businesses and the homeowners already pay money into the marketing, for the marketing of downtown Superior. And this is an additional piece, and how much are those entities willing to kick in to spend for this main event?
Who puts that whole main event together and makes it happen, you know, like an event planner, or who?
That-
So
well,
we're not doing that, we're just doing the art.
We don't have to do the event planning,
Okay.
no.
We just come up with how to make these little pieces doable.
And
Well,
we're working with
And a
Kelly?
big mural.
Yeah,
We're hoping to work with Kelly,
I'm kind of a little,
yes.
yeah. So because remember, we talked about this and
Yes.
have been for a while. Kelly is the one from Lafayette,
Louisville.
who does the farmers markets and could do like, whatever, block parties, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
And
that's-
Debbie's getting in touch with her to talk with
Okay,
her.
but, so that's
about-
been kind of nudged aside, at least for June 9th, because Cone Marketing and Ranch Capital and whatever, hopefully is taking over this whole June 9th event,
So
right?
we don't have to pay her this time.
Is that
But
correct?
but it's a town event, I mean, the whole, so.
Right,
and
right.
Yes, I mean, hopefully the idea is that Ranch Capital is paying for it as much as we can get them to pay for it. But we're the ones that started it, and we want it to be a town event. I mean, I think it's a crucial event to knit our communities together.
Right, so, but this one
So-
is a town event that we don't really have to do anything with, other than the artwork piece.
I hope so.
Okay.
You don't have to
Yeah, I
have
got,
the
that's what I
clipboards
thought he
and-
said last time, that, you know,
And
they'd be happy to pay for it.
But I didn't get the
Yeah.
sense that they were like gonna put it on, you know, they were gonna hire the entertainment, put up the
Well,
lights. and-
but but they are wanting to work with Kelly, or possibly work with
okay.
Kelly
So
to
this
do
is the-
some of.
I see
They
what you
had
mean.
planned to do something by
In April,
themselves
yeah.
anyway, in April as a grand opening.
Okay.
But
And
they're
then-
not calling it the grand opening.
Right,
Yeah,
and
then we moved
now
on to
that,
this.
and when you guys presented, they said, okay,
Okay.
let's move it to June, et cetera. So it's gonna be some sort of,
It'll be a collaboration.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the home builders will be there.
Yeah.
The sports table's gonna do kind of the kids zone area and
I'm
the
sure
fun stuff.
Impact will be there.
Impact will. We
Yeah.
talked some sort of music up on the Sticks stage, so we could save money and not do a
Five
stage.
stage.
From a town perspective, I'm
What
just
about food
helping.
trucks?
Yes, food trucks and.
Food and
Yep.
drink.
Mhm.
Okay.
They'll do
Beer,
that.
some sort of beer garden, yep. And I'm just really just helping, like,
And would it be appropriate then to see if we could get some kids
Yes.
to perform?
yep.
To get, you know, see
And maybe
if
that's a piece that
El Dorado, if, I mean,
this
they've
group
got,
can work on.
yeah, they've got choirs and bands and
Yep.
stuff like that, and Monarch High School, and,
Yep, and
Yeah,
we
so
we
if we
talked
want to
about
suggest that we would help out with
Some
finding the
entertainment.
music
Yeah.
talent and working on the art piece.
yeah, because
of
I would
that,
love
so-
to do the music part with the schools and talk to the the music teachers and see, you know, if
And
they-
I know the
the
jazz
school will be
teacher,
out.
the
yeah.
jazz teacher at El Dorado is already looking for opportunities.
Okay,
for
good.
his
And they are
jazz
actually
band.
Good.
amazingly good.
You know, my daughter played cello, and you know, like the 4th and 5th grade, you're going, oh my God. And then they get to middle school, and it gets a little better. Okay, I'm seeing improvement. And then, you know, they get to high school, and they're decent.
So the art,
we also talked about like having an artesian market.
Right.
What's an
Right.
artesian market?
Oh, and the other one fun thing that Katie and I both love is
handmade stuff.
the idea of a T-shirt truck. So we
Oh,
use-
that's
so
the-
great.
the-
Artesian, like
this
it's
guy
done
has a
well.
truck, like a,
Okay.
like
Right.
a, food truck, but it's for T-shirts, and he makes a custom design for the event, and so you literally can go up and squeegee
And do the screen
your own
printing?
screen
Oh,
printing
how
right
cool
there.
would that be?
Yeah.
Can you like customize it at all?
Well, yeah, no, he would do one with the I mean, I've seen him at like the maker space, and so he'll do his own, he has a couple of his own designs, but then he creates one sometimes for the event.
That
So
would be really fun.
whatever marketing and branding the main event comes up with, we could have a main event T-shirt, and it's really fun.
And
When they
we'll
say
even
they have
customize
themes.
it
Why
like you
can't
could
that
put.
be your art event?
Because we want a thing. We want a
I still
thing.
think that we can get the art piece put in front of the sports table. in that
I
grass.
think that is such a, who designs the mural?
On the grass, you mean down or on the wall?
It'd probably be down because it's temporary. I mean,
It's so hard to see on the ground.
Well, and I think we also talked about like the woman that you know on one of the bridges, underpasses.
yeah, she did it on an underpass.
I mean, you know, and really, we might not do it for a year or 2 years, but really kind of figure that out
Well,
as
there
part of the
is,
master
there is an
You guys where you wanna
underpass
put it.
that, I mean, I think it's by the sports
Yeah.
stable, it's the one that goes under 36.
Exactly, people go into that all the time.
And it's, I mean, it's an odd shape, so we'd have to figure that out in terms of the design, because it, you know, it's pretty wide here, and then it kind of moves into a triangle.
But a sports stable let you do it this June, or whatever. Then next summer, you do the underpass going into 36, and then next summer, you do the one by us that goes into town, you know, downtown, in that creepy dark tunnel that goes under the castle.
They're supposedly maybe putting lights,
They're what?
they might put lights there.
Let's
It's
hope
pretty
so.
dark.
There are other creepy
Could I
dark
ask a
tunnels
question?
too.
If we're gonna go forward with the art project, are we having a booth? I think that would be really good to have a CAPS booth.
Well, I don't know that we need a booth if we're doing the arts project. I mean, that would be that booth.
Yeah, that would be like a
Put your
central
sign
location.
up and you'd wear your.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah,
hats.
oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and,
Maybe a
and
tablecloth.
a second reason for that, I think would be good, is to have some artist registry sheets. Register
Yes.
here,
Right.
and, you know, be able to hand them out. Are you a local artist, are you a local musician, dancer, whatever, hand them out and get people to, email back that they're, to get on a list for our artist registry. This would be a perfect time to get that information out and get it back.
Mhm. That's what we've done at other events.
You could just have an iPad there
I
to
was
do
just
that
thinking
as
that,
well.
just have them register directly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we were at that, and actually that, one of the things I did do a little bit of research, and there's a WordPress plugin called Ultra Community. Are you familiar with it? And it allows people to put in their own information. I think it's basically a plug and play registry.
Yeah.
Which,
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
yeah, if we,
Yeah.
because it's stalled out since you
Yeah.
left.
Oh, I have to pick it back up.
So what's an artesian market?
It's
like-
like
An
artisan.
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 I think she means
Oh,
artisan, yeah.
Artisan.
Sorry.
Okay.
And I was
Okay.
thinking artesian is
Let's
rather.
cheese.
Sorry.
Artesian was a well.
Artisan.
Kill me.
No, but I-
know what you meant.
I
was
didn't,
like,
I was
and
thinking,
water
is there
flowing.
something to do with a well?
An artisan.
I was just
Okay.
thinking
Been
good
a long
food.
week. Daryl knew what I meant.
I know what you
did
meant,
too.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't. But no.
But I think that's a great idea too.
And not like,
People love it.
like handcrafted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, real live handcrafted,
Art.
not fake handcrafted.
And I don't know what
Not
she's.
Chinese
I think
handcrafted.
she mentioned too, Cone has like boutique trucks. I don't know if you guys have been to events where they have like the cute boutique trucks where people sell the cute clothes and.
Really?
But they have a couple, people that they know that they work with that can
See, that would be fun
possibly.
too.
Sounds like
Is,
great.
people in Superior would be totally shocked at it, this, they went down there and they went, whoa, art project over here, music over here, food here.
And decent.
They, and
yeah,
artisan, and
selections.
they'd be going,
Yeah,
whoa.
What day of the week is the 9th? I left.
Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
Okay, so it's not gonna conflict
Yeah.
with a Louisville thing if they do a Friday night, because they've got a lot of artisans there.
But we're not trying, I mean, I don't think that we want to, I mean, not that we don't want to grow, but it's really a
Yeah.
superior community event.
Yeah,
You know, and
but it's
and
still good
unique
not to
Superior.
conflict with another event
Sure.
that people go to.
So in, I think, maybe it was December or November, we hosted at our office a kind of like a holiday bazaar type thing where we took the chairs out of the ops and had different crafts, like local craftspeople that came in, and Helene from Rock Creek Living actually hosted it and put it together. And so she'll have a list of people, and like people that made
Good idea.
scarves and hats and greeting cards, and Emily Lewis is a lady who makes wreaths. I know someone who does there's quite a few people that make jewelry, so I know Rock Creek Living will.
And there's somebody,
Yeah,
because they
it's-
were at the 4th of July, and I think it was a Superior person who does like soaps and bath salts and things like that.
Yeah,
I can't
Christy does
Is-
like
yeah.
clinical aromatherapy, and she makes.
Yeah, because they had they had
Yeah,
everything.
lip
Yeah, and
balm
I
and
See,
things
this
like
is why
that.
we need the artist registry.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
thinking that was a Superior person,
It
right?
is,
Yeah,
yes.
so we should definitely
It
get
is.
her.
So
We have to kind of look at space
I'll look
too,
this up
so
this
we
week.
have to kind of think about
The WordPress.
space wise.
Angela, are you willing to take on the artist registry?
Yes,
I thought
I'm
Marcia was
back.
doing it.
Oh, if you have
Oh,
it, I
yeah,
don't
I'm
think
with
you can-
Marcia,
Yeah,
okay, good.
I'm on it.
Awesome.
Okay, good.
I was gonna check out the WordPress plugin.
So I can set up a development site for you if you
Oh,
want.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
That's the immediate
Okay.
need because of the art
Yeah.
over there, but also writers
We also
and
wanna know.
dancers.
the only writer I know is Trisha.
Yeah, she's
Bostovich.
chamber too.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna play with the
Chamber
WordPress, setting up the boxes, and then you can let me know the sort of categories that you think would be important to have for the different groups of artists. You know, you wanna ask different things of writers than you do of dancers and
Mhm.
musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll
Yeah,
start playing around with that.
go look at that and see what you think.
Yeah.
It seemed like a great possibility without
Yes.
having to custom build anything.
Exactly.
And it, other than I hated the blue color, it looked.
And I've
it
used
looked pretty.
WordPress before, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to go in there and
Okay,
tweak
well, I
it.
can set up a development site, and then I think, I think this plugin is free. There might be a point at which we'd wanna actually.
Yeah,
purchase
pay
it,
up,
but-
yeah. It's a
Okay.
freemium,
Okay.
you know.
What's the name of that plugin?
Oh,
Ultra
WordPress.
community.
Sorry.
Community?
Ultra community.
Ultra community.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's, the other one that was interesting was participants database, but I think Ultra Community was essentially better. Okay, so you two are on artist registry. Anyone else interested in artist registry?
No, but I'm gonna contact the schools.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And so you're interested in helping with the music
Yeah.
for the main event?
Yeah, yeah, I
I'm
wanna
back,
hear-
I'm not moving
do the
anymore.
kids,
Main event
the
in general.
student music.
Karen said she would
I'll
like
help
to
you
do
also,
main event.
Marcy,
Okay.
and I'm sorry.
Angie.
Hi.
Oh,
Angie.
sorry, that's right.
Yeah.
Jane.
That's right, she's
Jane-
new.
Yeah, she.
Well, I'm
she-
glad you said your name, because I recognize you, but I didn't
That's
remember
okay.
your name.
That's okay.
Marcia, I'll be happy to help.
Great.
If you guys
Yeah.
need any, extra backup,
Great.
I'll
Yeah.
be helping.
Yes, I would help on Main Street.
Okay.
Because I think again, you start here, the idea being that you're stretching it out to this really signature event
Mhm.
in the summers in
Yeah.
Superior.
Yeah.
It will be a superior event, not just a good event.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, I see it happening at least twice a year, but then the other part is finding the time to do it, because we have 4th of July and we have Chili Fest and we have movie nights, so, you run out of weekends, and, there's only so much staff time that we can, I mean,
Really?
she's not running it, but it's still taking her time, so.
When does the new committee person start? We have a hire?
We do.
Oh, good.
Can this person take notes?
I
You know,
think
you know how much
board-
we love.
Good.
The
Not
board,
taking
that was
notes.
a board decision. They decided that the committees had to take
Well, I totally
notes.
get why Kate doesn't, it's too hard for her to, again, if you're taking notes, it's hard to participate and multitask.
Yeah,
So
well,
you-
it makes sense, you wanna have a record.
I usually actually would go back and watch the meeting and take
Mm.
notes that way.
Oh, that's a good
But
idea.
That's usually what I do.
Except that it's time consuming.
The reason it was decided is because we have a lean staff, and so Katie not only attended the meeting, she had to then spend a day watching the meeting and doing the minutes.
Oh, and taking the notes.
Yes.
Because it is a pain to take the minutes, it's very time consuming.
So if the committee will do it,
Yeah.
Put in the notes,
it
yeah.
is
And I go
helpful.
through them afterwards and throw, I
And clean them up.
Get them, yeah, and get them posted.
Yeah.
The new committee member will be taking over ACES, and then helping out in various areas of, so I will still be the liaison. Everyone is still keeping their committees,
but
Oh,
she
good.
will be helping out with some committee processes and,
Keeping you
some
informed,
good
everybody on
stuff.
task.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's gonna
Tighten
do
it up
some
a
really
bit.
cool stuff, yeah, maybe some committee training type stuff, so yeah, that's, we'll keep moving on, yeah, she'll be good.
Okay, last one, cultural arts master plan.
I know, I'd be really interested in working on that.
Yeah, that's my main interest too.
Okay.
Did you send us all Louisville's?
I didn't send you Louisville's yet. No, but it's a really great, it is a great start to look at theirs and how they put it together.
It's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, I have a copy in here. But one thing that I have, you know, when we're talking about funding and financing, I thought this was a hugely brilliant idea. So this one town, in order to fund our projects, they charge $2 per person per house, or, you know, for anyone in your household, which is a way to, it's sort of like the landscape fee, in a sense, that is assessed to almost every house in Superior. It's a way, without adding tax per se to, you know, because we can't get more sales tax.
Right.
But it's a way to generate some amounts of money. So it's just something to think about when we're doing our master plan.
How
That's
do you do it? I mean, are you talking about a tax? It's one
fee.
It's a fee.
It can't be
It's a
attached.
fee. It's not a tax,
Yeah.
it's a fee. So it's
Yeah.
like the landscape fee.
Ah,
So you get
okay,
charged
okay.
$35 a month for the landscape fee, right?
Right.
So $2, and not even a month, it's like $2 a year per person, you know?
Wow.
And if there's 12,000 people in town, it's 24.
That's a little bit of a budget there.
It's some money to
Yeah.
think about.
There are some interesting ways here. We have some some actual assessments that are grandfathered, that are going to be done. Metro District 2 and 3, I think, both are going to have all their debt paid off in a few years. And we're used to paying like 5 or 6 mills in property tax each year. And what other communities are doing, Boulder did this, when they had a tax that was, it's the word not grandfather, what's the thing, is phasing out. I'm using the wrong word.
Sunsetting.
Sunsetting. When they had this, they actually put it before the ballots to
Yeah, right, to keep
Oh,
it,
that's right,
yes.
yeah.
to
keep it.
rebrand it, if you
Right,
will, or whatever.
because everybody was used to
So
paying it
won't-
anyway.
Yeah, it won't be used for its original purpose, but now it'll be used for the new purpose. So the town will have the opportunity, the town board will have the opportunity to consider that kind of action. So this cultural arts master plan, I think, is exceedingly important for this committee to have a long-term, 20-year sort of impact
20 years.
on the community.
Doddering.
Or dead.
Or dead.
Hey, none of that.
That's
none of
true.
that.
Well, that's only because Daryl's so much younger than I am.
Hopefully not at a crosswalk.
Well, it's my.
But if it is a crosswalk, it's one we painted.
That's
Okay, so I want to leave enough time so that we can talk about Tesla. So updates and look aheads, the Creative Placemaking Leadership Summit on April 6th and 7th. Couple possibilities. Katie said she could get the town car, and so people could do that. We can also take the bus because there's an event in the evening. If people don't want to stay, then they could either.
Oh.
You are coming
the
back,
town got a
right?
car.
Yes, I have my own
Tickets already.
event on Friday night, but there is like a networking type event Friday night.
Right.
But I'll probably drive a town car, which I
Are
can
you
fit.
going?
And this is going to be
I-
where in Denver?
I did get everyone a parking pass too, so if you want to drive
okay.
yourself, I got everyone
Yeah,
a
thank
pass.
you.
So it's April, it's a Friday and Saturday?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
And Saturday's actually the long day, Friday afternoon and Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
it's-
the camp dinner the same time as this?
No, it's just, I put it on there, we don't have
I don't
it.
know.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we'll-
I'm actually in Canada these days. but
Okay.
I wasn't here, so you didn't plan for it.
We were
Oh,
planning
where's
for
that?
you,
I see
so.
it all
Oh,
works
do
out.
you?
I did everyone.
Okay.
University of Denver, where is it?
Yes,
South.
yes.
Way
Yes.
south.
Like on, what is
Yeah,
it?
but
where-
Like,
University.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you mean, where is it on campus?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just signed up.
I
what
I
this will-
haven't gotten any info. Hold on, let me see what I
Did we get a van for carpooling?
I
She's
didn't
gonna,
get one.
no.
We have a Durango. I can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 8.
Is that right with you?
Yeah, yeah. Because I'll just
Meet here?
yeah.
So when are we, I guess we have to get details as to.
So
what-
that's what she printed out agendas for us to see.
Let's see. I just have
Oh,
an e-ticket, University of Denver.
It's the first event
I didn't
on
even
Friday
know
at
there was
11.
this. I'm sorry, yeah, gotcha.
And it doesn't say what the Friday night event is.
No, it's online.
Oh, is it online? Okay.
Is that what this
Tell
is?
you.
Yes.
Can
I'm
you
sure
send
it'll
us the
say
link
where
to
and
it
it'll say
again?
where to park.
So we know where to
Yeah,
start.
there's
Wow,
more.
that's really
Yeah, and I don't
cool.
know if they.
Bummed out.
I know.
Said-
It was private process.
Yeah.
Was it?
In other words, you don't really want people to attend?
I don't know. Well, they had at least 100 and I don't know. Okay,
What's that?
schedule.
Pretty comprehensive.
Oh, we're not Southeast, we're Southwest.
Presentation.
Oh, no, no, we are South.
After.
Some actually very interesting stuff that they're doing in here.
Really
You mean after
be
the?
invigorating.
Okay.
We should like all split up.
Yeah, we should definitely.
Well,
go
as
to
Here-
different
Here's
ones.
one, pulled away from silo programs and projects. I mean, they're just,
And if we can't decide, we can rock, scissors, paper it.
Yeah,
okay. So we're
Yeah.
all,
yeah, it doesn't make sense for us to go to the
everyone's
same ones.
No, it really does.
Travel to social.
But it's gonna be hard.
I
I
don't
mean,
know
if
if
there
they
is
told
one
me
that we
that
all wanna
social
go
event. I
to, I'm
think I
not
just
gonna, I mean, we
saw it.
can't
Yeah.
say we're not gonna go, you know?
No, but as much as
Can't do
possible,
Yeah.
we
We
should
wanna-
take advantage.
As much as possible, we wanna split up,
Yeah.
but if there's,
oh, yeah, is yours under here?
No,
and I'll
sent mine
send you
over
a
there.
link, cause there is a link online, so you can go to the website and you can
Oh,
look at
you're
the
gonna do that, so
agenda.
Katie, you don't have to then.
It was a 17-page agenda, so I just asked her to make a few copies for tonight.
Yeah.
So if the first event starts at 11, what time should we leave here? Like,
Probably 9:30.
yeah.
It'll take probably at least 45 minutes to get down
So
there.
who wants to go in the van? I'm happy to take either the bus down or drive, so.
Yeah, it's not that easy to take the bus to
It's
DU.
not easy.
Oh, it's
No,
not.
I used
No.
to work there.
It
It's
take-
2 hours to get
Yeah,
there by
yeah.
bus.
It's
Oh.
not, no, you can't, downtown Denver's one thing, but not
Okay.
DU.
No,
Well, I
it's
could
not
drive too,
feasible.
because I have one of those free in the HOV, although if we have more than 3 people, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Sounds like we will.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go with anybody, I don't.
Yeah.
So just tell me where to be and I'll.
Well, we
Why
can
don't you
all-
pick me up, well, and if you and Jane and I, since we're.
We can
sitting-
all, why don't we all just meet here at 9:30?
Okay,
And I'll
9:30?
plan on my car and yours, and
Is that early?
Well, no, but I mean, but when I do something, I'm like,
Some
okay,
of us-
it starts, I'm always 5 minutes late, so I would look at it going, it
Nine.
starts at 11.
Nine.
I know.
Oh, my gosh.
It starts.
for you,
That's not such a
8:30.
I know.
positive thing.
I'm like,
I
it
know
starts
a
at
guy-
11, I'll
well,
leave it.
I
Don't be
know when he was a
responsible for
baby.
each other. How about no?
Wonder if
Yeah.
it-
I always forget about the travel.
No,
No, but I used to
Oh,
work
'cause
in
you
DU
tell me I
and
do
I
that.
would
It
like
takes
ride
about
the bus.
8
It's
to
2 hours and you have like
What's
an
the
extra.
next?
All right.
My parents would be, oh, no. No, of course not. I knew his parents.
Depends, when
No,
you,
we wouldn't.
I
No,
twenty-five
He was a
and you
toddler,
get.
I think, the last
when
time.
I
you
don't know
But it's
where we're
just
supposed to
not
park.
that
I'm
common
hoping
a
they
way to
send
spell
information,
Higby.
because I
Yeah.
did get everyone's
can
parking
figure out
pass.
logistics.
It asked, so I just said yes. So,
What date is this?
We don't have a date yet, do we, for a cat's dinner?
no, if, no one does, like none of the committees do
None of the
except
committees do.
Prostac, so
Okay.
I
I
don't
just
see
keep
any
putting
of
it
the
on
list
here.
yet, so I don't know
Wow.
if you want to
Send it March already.
ask Matt.
I will.
Okay, I just keep
That's
putting it
all.
on there because we
Yeah.
want
No,
it.
I looked at the look ahead for
And
quite a few,
actually,
and
it would be nice if it
we
was
do the
after,
youth.
I mean, obviously, after our April
Yeah.
visit will be easy, and then we
I
can
think
have a
yeah,
recap
that's a
of
slam
that.
dunk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, not have it,
Right.
which is not gonna happen.
Well, it's not gonna happen anyway, so
Right.
it's perfect.
it's not on
timing.
the next two.
Okay.
But think of an agenda. The question was asked, how do we get art included in all development plans? And I think that would be a really
big
Great
good
topic to
topic
put for
That's a
dinner.
biggie.
to start
Well,
off the dinner.
Yeah, and that's part of the cultural arts master plan, but I think that, I mean, as a recommendation from us, we would want to ask that any development coming forward, it's
I don't
part
think
of
you want to wait until that's done in a year.
Oh, no,
To
yeah.
actually get that question asked and to create
Mm-hmm.
A dialogue.
A
Because we
dialogue,
must have,
yeah.
we're in March now, we must have talked about this in January even. How to get this incorporated to fund.
This
So
town
it's
needs
been at
to,
least 2
to
months.
think art, maybe
Mhm.
need some bumper stickers.
Think art.
I like it
Think
too.
superior art.
Yeah.
Or think the arts.
Yeah.
Because there's also the
Right.
performing
Yeah.
arts.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, most of the developments that come forward, it's built-in open space, and they have a built-in fee that they have to pay for parks. So, you know, it's time to really actually look at funding the
Yeah,
arts in some way.
like they do in other towns. Was it Denver, was it some percentage?
That's 1%.
Yes.
That's,
Yeah.
Well,
that's huge. That's
That's
tax.
a fabulous.
different.
That's
yeah.
a tax on the state and federal
Yeah.
buildings.
But
that's
But
made it
Loveland, one of the
unbelievable.
things
Yeah,
that sets
that
Loveland
science.
aside is that they have it built into their
Science, culture,
commercial
museum.
property development. That is
Right.
so- for
That's what we,
huge
that's what we
estate.
wanna figure out
Yeah.
how to make sure going forward.
And
that-
by the way, I did check after last meeting, remember when I said there's a financial requirement for art in the, in downtown Superior, and Bill was, he supports it, but he said, we're not obligated. Yes, they are. There's a $2 million line item for art and architectural enhancements.
How, over what period of time?
The life of the project, over 20, you know, it'll be
Mhm.
built out in anywhere from 15
But-
to 25 years.
When does that money, I mean, it's contingent on TIF, right, though?
But, in a matter of fact, a note to self, this sculpture should be the first draw against that 2 million, even if there are not bonds to pay for it right now.
Mhm.
It will be owing when the bonds do. The bond money does become available, so, I
Do
have.
they increment it? Is there like, I'm assuming somewhere in that huge legal document for the downtown building, that if they get to a point of X amount of revenue generated, then at that point in time, there's X amount of dollars coming for art. So
No,
it could be,
that is not in
there's
there.
no
It just-
specific
We're lucky
tie-in?
to have a $2 million line
But I mean,
item
so if
in
you, but
Exhibit
if you
B.
look at that in terms of a master plan, there's no benchmarks that need to be met by.
And a lot of it's all based on the TIF and how much money, I mean, if there's no.
Well, that's what I
money-
mean, so
yeah.
if, we don't know, but if the TIF says, okay, we're at this point now, oh, then it kicks out this amount dollar over here for art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
no.
That's a really
That's-
complex question, just we're, in terms of civic space, and we're in the process of trying to clarify obligations.
Right, okay.
But it was very good. It's 2 million, and I asked that that be sent in writing as requested by Bill, to Bill. I'll have to double check whether or not that actually went out, because we've got to start insisting on all these things we put in those documents, right?
Right.
Otherwise, they simply will not be.
Speaking of which, we already have that commitment from the Element Hotel,
Mhm.
and I'd really like to not see that disappear.
So do we actually have a formal written commitment from Element?
For you.
For us to participate in artwork in their hotel?
I don't know that we have a
Yeah.
formal written anything.
Yeah, well, we have
But
this bill.
during the
But it's not part
FDP
of
process, they
Branch
said
Capital.
they would welcome
Right.
that. So
Yeah.
I think,
But Bill
let's-
has nothing to do with the Element Hotel, does he?
not that
Not
aspect.
anymore,
Well,
Right.
We'd have to
Yeah.
sounds
He
I
said
think the
he-
staff
He
needs
said he
to-
would pass along our
I-
recommendation.
Yeah,
Bill said.
yeah, and I think staff can help with a letter to them. Bill certainly will bring the parties together, and
Mhm.
that you make the offer to participate in that
Right,
in any way
absolutely, but
possible.
I mean, there's no guarantee that we'll have any say
Right.
at all.
But you know, if you don't make contact.
Then we
you won't.
definitely won't.
That's right.
No,
So-
absolutely, but it has nothing to do with Bill Jenks, other than he might get us in touch with them. It has
Right,
nothing to do
it
with
sounds like he
Ranch
has a really
Capital.
good relationship with the principals.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he can do a
said
warm
he would
introduction.
Pass it along, yeah.
Did
He
you,
said he'd
did
pass
you
it
put
along.
on your to-do list for the staff to reach out to Element, though? Or we're not doing that?
I didn't put it
Writing
on
it down.
mine because we have a staff member here.
Okay.
So here's a bigger question, I guess, maybe. So, obviously, I think I'm hearing that we need to reach out with assistance to Elements. As this thing goes forward, are we gonna kind of make a policy of how do we, you know, sort of insinuate ourselves into being part of the art process?
That's what we're talking about, and also that's what the master plan will
Okay,
help
so that's where we'll
formulate.
develop that.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, though. It doesn't have to wait until the whole master
No,
plan
heavens
is
no.
developed. Yeah, we could still hop on the element opportunity. And from the resources that we have, it seems like there are probably 20 or 30 Colorado artists in Daryl's database, and I had separate databases from the Loveland Sculpture Show, and we rejected a lot of pieces that were too small, you know what I mean? Those would be the prime ones that we would want to recommend to the Element Hotel. It would be just so easy to just pick out, 20 of them or something, make sure each one of them has a website, bring that list of 20 here, have the group look at the 20. You like to recommend this, you don't like to recommend this, narrow it down to 10 or something and write a letter to Element. At least we would have done it, and it would take like several hours.
Right, and that's fine, but I don't have several extra hours at the moment unless we know that we actually can have a say in that. I'm not gonna put any effort into that.
I'd be happy to.
No, we're not, as a committee, it's not part of our work plan, so no, we are not gonna do that.
Yeah, it's true, it has to be on the work plan. So let's just start at the beginning.
I can get the contact. Actually, we met with there was the guy from Element that was there at our meeting, but I will talk with Bill to see who the correct contact is and just go from there.
And once we know that we have a foot in the door, then we can go back and ask if we can add it to our work plan and do that. But we can't add anything to our work plan.
Weren't we just talking about
We were sitting in a meeting.
the work plan of approaching businesses?
No.
It's not part of our
the,
actual work plan that.
Cultural arts master plan.
We have a work plan for this year because I saw it.
Yeah.
We do, we have a work
Yeah.
plan
Yeah,
that
we
that was
voted
approved
on
by
last
the,
month.
and it was approved by the board.
Yeah, last month.
Right.
Let's just another reminder. It's so productive to have Bill Jenks at these meetings. I mean, it's probably the most productive element of any advisory committee meeting I've ever witnessed, because he is enthusiastic about the same stuff you're enthusiastic about, and he has the ability to make sure it happens. And when he has these conversations with entities that, businesses that might go in, or restaurants that might go in, or the residential home builder that he just entered into a huge contract with, or Ranch did. So what I recall is his enthusiasm with putting pedestals around the downtown Superior development for this rotating art thing. And if that can be effectuated, and he actually does that, wow, what a boost. Because you can't have pedestals without something to put on top of it,
Bird
right?
dogs.
So, yeah, if these are, it's always, how do you build a critical mass? How do things percolate up and start a movement, right? So I'm just saying it because I
Well,
don't want to lose that.
So it would be wonderful if Bill came to the meetings.
Right.
But he doesn't, so.
Well, he's not in town all the time.
He's
and-
only comes into town.
And we can certainly make sure that we invite him every single meeting. Last meeting was pretty important because of the main event and also the art sculptures.
Yeah, I'd
and
be
things like
curious.
that, so.
I haven't heard his opinion on the selected artwork. That would be interesting.
we do.
I can
He
forward
had a
it to
very
you.
clear- He had a very clear
Yeah.
preference.
He did?
Yeah.
What was his preference?
He liked
Terra Nova.
Oh, really?
With a
Okay.
very articulate explanation of
articulate.
why it was his favorite.
And why he would support it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Anyway.
All right, moving on.
But we didn't know that until we already made our decision anyway.
Okay.
It didn't influence us.
No.
It did influence.
No, yeah, it had not.
Somehow I
So
missed that.
it's time for Tesla?
Yes, would you,
So-
sorry, would you take your
I'm
leave,
gonna go home and
please?
have dinner, yeah.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
good.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
You as well. See you at the gym.
Yes.
Why does Sandy leave
Bye,
now?
Sandy. Because we want to talk about the possibility of making a recommendation to the board about art
Oh, okay.
in the Tesla.
Okay, there can be
um,
conflict. Okay.
This is a Tesla dealership?
Yes.
Going in on
So,
that?
Katie, is it possible to pull up the location?
How did I not hear about this?
It was pretty quiet.
It
It
was-
just came in front of the planning commission on Tuesday night.
Secretly, didn't it?
Oh.
Coming toward the
Secretly.
board?
That's maybe a little.
The
different.
board has been talking about it in executive session for a while, I think.
I have
And
some
we're
friends
losing
that
a
have their
dealership,
names
right?
on the waiting list for
We're
various
losing
Yeah.
Land Rover,
For
Teslas.
Teslas.
We're
We had
losing
the-
Land
where was
Rover.
Land Rover?
Oh,
by
it's
Starbucks.
By Starbucks on the
Yeah.
corner of
It's
Colton
the
and
most
Rocky.
improbable place for a
Yeah.
car dealership, because it's so tiny.
Is there one there?
Yes.
Yeah. Land
Yeah.
Rover.
It's all those Land Rovers parked around the Starbucks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is a car dealership, although I've never actually seen any human beings walking around those cars.
Oh, so they, you know what they
I
do is
was
they
joking.
drive them up and around the dirt road that
Oh.
they're always
It's
practicing.
in a
Because, you know, usually you
Tesla
see the car
dealership, but take
salesmen,
out Tesla.
you know,
Yeah,
walking
no,
around,
no,
but they're
get
never,
out
I've never seen
Tesla.
any
No,
bodies.
I'm
I
just
did catch somebody
surprised,
moving a
that's all.
car.
I'm
once.
surprised
They were
there's
moving
nobody
all over
car
the
dealership.
different cars.
Exactly,
I see
car
people
dealership.
driving
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, what-
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it sounds
Land
desperate to me,
Rovers,
like.
so-
I didn't even know Tesla's
Well,
had
so-
dealerships. I
so-
just ordered it.
The thing that we can
Okay.
talk about, or we can talk about anything we want, but what I would like to talk about is influencing art in the, that location. So the way that, and when Katie pulls it up, it's gonna be, there's a detention pond right across from Starbucks over here that they have determined that we no longer need, and we can fill it in and have land for something. And so that something is a Tesla dealership. And they did a presentation in front of the planning commission on Tuesday night and showed us what the building looks like and the parking.
And what did the planning commission think?
They ended up approving it. It was a split vote that wasn't completely.
If you have extra time,
you
you should
have
go
that
listen
stuff?
to
Isn't
it.
Wait.
What do you
have the presentation?
Yeah, so
Um,
it was a really interesting.
It's online. You can go online and you can also go and view the planning commission's meeting, but there is a packet. Right
Oh my
behind
gosh,
you
look
is
at this, the
a.
sports table on the Google map,
So
yeah.
this-
Yeah.
This was something they left behind.
So
Isn't it
it
right
would
there in the
be
corner?
right
That's it,
there.
right there.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Caslin and
And
Marshall.
so
I mean,
this,
Is there any good place for a car dealership here?
this is a picture.
Why don't we have them move in where Land Rover?
Looks like a tractor barn.
Too small. Too
It's a
small.
tractor barn.
So, if,
A burnt out one.
Looks like a tractor barn.
can we
it
see
does.
the actual plans? Because I want to, there's a big, where
So it's
the-
gonna be right there at Marshall in the.
Not
Is
where
this
the
what they
sports
brought?
authority was, is it?
No, they try, apparently they tried
Oh,
that
I was gonna
building
go
and it
back to
didn't
the map
work
and show you
out
where
for
it
them.
is.
So these are some of the
Yeah.
materials, they're,
Yeah.
What is that for? The black? What
I
is?
don't know, maybe.
Oh,
that's-
that
This
part.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
Yeah.
big is
So
it?
it's
I mean,
stylish.
do we know how?
yeah, I don't, and.
173 cars, you said.
It is 77,000 square feet of building
Asphalt.
sales office.
If
I
you-
like the showroom, do we, how many do they have like?
The showroom.
Still don't understand. Where's the empty space?
It might be under the planning commission packet,
I know, I'm just,
Okay.
yeah.
I need everyone just to.
Gosh.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, that can be the gateway to Superior. Just put a Tesla in the roundabout.
But I was thinking food.
They're
and-
Especially the ones with the doors that go.
Yeah.
Do you guys know Elon Musk's brother runs the kitchen restaurant in Boulder?
No.
Yes.
Does he
Are you
really?
joking?
Yep,
Not
yep.
joking.
The one
It's true.
downtown too?
Yeah.
Are they?
That's
are
the
they-
last, the
I don't know
less
if he
famous
still
brothers
does,
of
but I
us.
know he's opened
Yeah.
it.
Your kitchen right on Pearl Street.
The other
Yeah.
brother.
Yes.
There's a
They
few.
I'll
have-
be darned, how
so
funny
they have
is that?
connections.
It's his? I mean, he owns
His
it?
brother,
Yeah.
Elon Musk's brother.
It owns the kitchen?
Yes. Or at least did at one point.
That is neat.
Yeah, I don't know
That
if
guy's
he
name
still
is
owns
Kimball.
it.
I may not still, but
Yeah.
started it or something.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Electrical
the-
vehicle
it's-
sales and service.
Yeah,
But
electric.
you're the one right about it, but,
Sales center?
yeah.
The one above it, 5B, 3F.
Yeah, I think, try that one. That might, yeah, that'll show us.
No one's gonna
No, but was that the only page on there? Oh, sorry.
Do they have to put these documents, because they had a lot of further plats and information and that kind of stuff when they presented to the planning board? Do those things that they showed in the meeting, do they have to be
Yeah.
put somewhere?
They're all in the meeting packet.
So that, but we went through the meeting packet.
Well, at least this gives you a sense of the building, but I would
The
like.
scale, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Size of the people.
Why did the planning commission think this was a good idea? Sales tax? Well, no, because
No,
you tax where you
Well-
live.
You tax where you live
Is it
for
on the
cars.
side
It
where
would just
Target
be
is, or
the
is it on the
property
other
tax.
side?
Over
It's
there.
over by
Yeah.
Superior.
Land Rover only
Oh.
generates approximately 70,000 a year in tax
Mhm.
revenue for the town of Superior.
Really?
Because you think about it, where you buy a car, the taxes are sent to there.
Yeah, exactly,
Their
where you
labor
live.
is not taxed, so it's really only windshield wipers and mufflers and
And property
parts.
tax.
Well, no, and parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang it. Okay, well, so this will give you,
Yeah.
so essentially it's in this shape right here, and this area.
Oh, so that
this
little
is-
triangular.
This is McCaslin,
Mhm.
this is Marshall going around, and you come in here and it's parking right here.
So, and then
So
where's?
this is Starbucks right here.
Okay.
If that helps you.
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
This
helps
is-
us see
This
it.
is
Does this
Marshall,
start going
around like
the
that right now?
amphitheater.
It will.
Okay,
It'll
like,
go
that
into
doesn't
the town
really-
center that
Where's
way.
the hotel?
The
Right.
hotel is over there.
there, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, on the other side. But this right here is, you know, they're gonna have 75 parking spaces right here, all the cars facing the park. And this is where I think we would have the most possibility of influence, is asking for some kind of creative wall there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be a great idea. Wow.
That's where you could put the mural things.
Yeah, or there, I mean, there's all kinds of different opportunities, but I just think that, you know, currently they're just they're not just, they,
Have bushes.
yeah, essentially, trees and immature trees and bushes for the moment, but, it would.
So if you're sitting in the amphitheater, would your back be to that,
Your
or would
back
you
would-
be facing it?
So the amphitheater is potentially, so again, this is all potential,
Mhm.
is in this area, and the people would be sitting here. Your back would be too,
Okay,
but you're
so at
See,
least
that's-
you're not looking at it. Yeah.
but it's still a sea of cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behind that.
And I just think that there's so many great opportunities for something, you know, even if it's like sections of wall or something. or
Yeah.
Are they
some
gonna
way.
be okay with hiding the cars behind the wall?
So this isn't where sales is happening, this is our park.
That is
Oh. It's on
where
the
Daryl's
outside.
hand, where Daryl's hand is
supposed to be a park.
is part of the park.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
our park.
This is our park.
This is
Yeah.
what we're,
Yeah.
Well,
you
then we
know.
should tell them they don't want flying baseballs.
That's right.
Well, no, this is,
but-
that's the,
No,
but
yeah,
no,
it's
that's
not
a
a
good
ballpark,
point, that the
but-
wall,
Yeah.
in a sense, is not only visually pleasing, but it could also
Protect
protect
the
the
cars.
cars
Yeah.
from potential frisbees
And it could be designed in a way that's big. We could have our own wall.
Yeah.
We could build a
Yeah.
dome over the whole
Yeah.
thing and plant it.
Yeah.
so Katie, go back to the corner
Green.
visual of the building. See now, part of that is when you think about, remember when they came with the 48-foot tower sign? And we're like,
Yes.
what are you thinking?
Oh, did we get rid of that?
Yes,
Yes.
but now
Yay.
Ranch Capital, which it should have, is
So
coming
far.
back with a
Good.
concise new design integration plan, which makes total sense. So now what they've done on that corner, rather than having an integrated sign that says "Welcome to Superior" or something, you have a Tesla dealership right on the corner there.
Yeah.
So where are you gonna put the "Welcome to Superior" stuff?
Well, and again, here's another opportunity for, I mean, I get that this is sort of their brand.
Right. Well-
But we can always make a recommendation, and they can always turn us down.
Yeah.
But I
Been
think
there,
if we
done
give
that.
the opportunity to do it, then.
A big you're saying a
No.
sculpture or a piece of art?
Some form of art there, absolutely, and then some kind of wall.
A
on the-
recite.
And the other
Why does it say
recommendation, I mean,
What?
I know the planning
It's
commission,
just
see that wall, that right there where it says
It's not
tenant?
going to-
Yeah.
That's gonna
No.
say Tesla, and it.
Oh, I was gonna say, why does it say tenant?
It's a pretty long expanse of building, and so, and not that we could,
So what are those three things?
what three things?
Windows.
Oh, I thought like
Windows.
Coke machines or something.
No, they're tall windows. They're
Porta
Tesla,
potties.
Tesla parts.
I mean, that was my first thought, is those like
Giant Coke.
Coke machines.
I think this is
No,
the
it's
window.
beaut.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
windows.
it's probably
Oh, but
is.
we could actually recommend that they put, what's the glass?
Oh, the
Oh, no, and yeah,
Dichroic glass.
Dichroic glass.
There you go.
That would be great. Oh, I thought you were talking about the glass of Tim Upham's.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes,
That's it.
yeah.
That's it.
It could be kind of cool, couldn't it?
So that's where you come out, like you come out of basically Costco and Target, and that's what you see
To
at
the-
that corner.
yeah.
There's no green, there's,
So, wait,
No
as you're
secure
coming
sign.
across to go to Starbucks,
It's across from Starbucks.
yeah, on
Exactly.
the other
Right.
side you see,
Right now, it's just a detention
right,
pond.
I
It's
know.
basically a big pit.
There's nothing.
And,
and by the way, it is zoned currently to not allow car dealerships, repair shops, or RV sales. So what Tesla is basically coming to the town and saying, okay, we want you to change your zoning, which in my perspective is the vision for what we wanted on that corner. Tesla's coming in and saying, we want to change the zoning to have it be zoned for car dealership.
but what we can talk about tonight
Right.
is the
Sorry.
possibility of art. And what about in this place here? Because this is such a long expanse, what if there is
Yeah.
something in, maybe, they keep their branded front here, but we ask for them to do something in that way to break up that long
Yeah,
expanse
and
of
now
wall.
what street is that on? Is that
This-
on McCaslin or Marshall?
This is McCaslin going
Okay.
by, and then, so this car turning is headed into.
Okay.
Superior
So I'm sure
Midway.
their idea is to have a giant sign, giant Tesla
A
written
Tesla
on the side of
sign.
it, so that they'd
Actually,
know.
Yeah, it would be, absolutely, and it could still be rather large, but if you're driving by, you're seeing this first. This is your sort of side view. I mean, it would be nice to have something.
They would probably, I'm just playing devil's advocate, they're gonna not want to mix with their logo
Something totally
right
different.
on their property, a piece of
Yeah,
artwork.
but I still think that we can,
Give it
if we want to, we can make a recommendation.
Mhm.
Is this a foregone conclusion, this is going in?
It
or-
is not a foregone conclusion, it has to go in front of the board.
What's the
So
revenue
it's
then?
not really
It's going to be given.
So the pulse of the board, in my opinion, is that a lot of them are pretty psyched about it.
And it's because it's Tesla.
Yeah, it's not just any
It's not
dealership.
just
Well, but what they're doing,
You can say, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think,
It's a safe
when,
space.
when they brought this forward, you see how everything has tenon on it?
Mhm.
They didn't want to say it was Tesla. What Tesla's now starting to do, they used to have these really cool, like in shopping plazas, and they had one on Pearl Street, remember that they had, and that they abandoned, they left, basically, where you just have one Tesla car, two Tesla cars. So
That was
now-
their original model. They had
Exactly.
no cars.
Right, they had no cars, they
They had
just had one
two-
car.
Right.
And so then, now what they're doing, and you can see, you can go online at Littleton and you can get a visual aspect of what they look like. They're car dealerships. I mean, they might be selling the coolest car ever,
But
you
it's
still have a car
dealership.
dealership on a corner with the service bays. They will be bringing in somewhere between, maybe someone else knows this fact a little bit better, but you know how the big semis have all the cars in them?
Mhm.
Those
Yeah.
semis are gonna bring in
We
those
see
cars.
them on-
Well, they're gonna bringing in the distribution, that will be their distribution center, which is why they have 170 parking places with all the cars lined up.
That used to be for the park. but
That
that's
used to be
another
for the
story.
park, by the way, and they are not willing to share.
How would you feel if, and I don't know if this is an option, if you could say, make it smaller?
Well, as an art
Can
committee,
we
you,
do that?
as a resident, can
Right.
absolutely go and
As a
make that
resident, yeah,
recommendation.
say-
But as an art committee, do we want to make a recommendation that that we ask that art be a requirement for this future
Yeah, I think
development?
so.
And make a couple
I
suggestions?
say we do it because they might not
Why
like
not?
it and go, just kidding.
We have
Um,
nothing to lose.
Yeah,
Well,
there's no
if
harm in
it-
asking.
If it's there, I think there should be art. If that's our
Then
vision,
we set a
that
precedent.
anything new is gonna have some art incorporated
the
into
property.
it.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think that we could start with that, and then, as to how and what, if we get them on board with, yes, part of the vision of creating this was to make art a part of commerce, or however you want to say it. So maybe we have to get them on board, right?
Well, I think we have a short window. I mean, it'll go in front of the board and we can come up and make a recommendation to the board.
How soon, when does it go on
Yeah,
to the
when-
board?
Probably pretty soon. I don't know if it's on an agenda.
Individuals can-
I didn't see it on the list.
You know, like for instance, Daryl's idea is you have, so here we have our parks where amphitheater and all this cool
Mhm.
stuff is supposed to be.
Mhm.
Then you have this huge parking lot with, you know, conceivably 172 Teslas parked. And Tesla, because it's known for its design and its marketing and innovation, why not somewhere put in maybe a really cool retaining wall that truly is art?
Well, that's a great idea.
You know, I mean, so that,
Yeah.
that when you're sitting in the art, if we assume that even given the very, very short time frame that Superior Residences have, I mean, you didn't even know about it.
No,
So-
and when was this
Just
decided?
Tuesday night.
Okay, this has
So
been
but-
on the list.
But
of-
if you're
yeah.
bringing it forward, and Tesla's known for their design and their innovation, what about on that wall, you know, like in Boulder, where they have that one of the artists that was on our list that did all that really cool.
Oh, Ken Bernstein did that cool
Ken
wall
Bernstein did that
on,
really, really cool wall on 28th by the
Yeah.
campus.
Yeah.
You know,
To separate
have
it.
Tesla,
Yeah, I
there
like
Put
that
money
wall.
into it.
It
Put